As you know, my English is very poor, so I will try to speak slowly in order to try to improve my pronunciation and not tired to you, please. Okay, let's begin. We are going to talk about the way to change the world, how he works, how he thinks, how he acts. We are going to talk about the teleological measure of human values. In the science of means and ends, teleology is the science of means and ends. It's a very antique word. We may find teleology in Aristotle's. Remember the idea of potentiality and actuality. This term, teleology, is a Greek word, telos, which means end, and of course logos, that means treatise or story. It refers to what is at the end of a process, commonly a temporary one. Teleology refers to a rational, conscious process, actions and decisions aiming to a purpose. The question is, did Hartman's interest in teleology begin in the 70s of the last century? No. We may find in the structure of value, page 243, we may find a quotation. One value, potentiality, realized, etc., is the basis of teleology. So, as Doug has proved, the interest of Hartman in teleology begins with Nikolai Hartman. In 1967, he clearly understood that value judgment can be expressed in 3 different ways, and each one gives rise to a different field of value. We may express a common value judgment, and it's called axiological or agathics. Remember that agathos in Greek means good. For example, the name Agatha. It's a name that is derived from agathos. The common value judgment is what we use every day. It's called axiological or agathic. For example, when we say x is good, is the common use of value judgment. There is another one use of a value judgment, the normative or the ontological value judgment. When we say X must be good, remember, for example, in the hospitals, we have a deontological code. There are the obligations of physicians and nurses. It's what they must to do in the hospital, deontological. Remember this word. There is another use, a third use. The value judgment that will be expressed once it means a temporary or teleological process. When we say X will become good. It's not good right now because it's in potentiality, but it's going to be developed, and when it or he or she reaches, achieves the goal, is going to be good. It's the third kind of good. So, three kind of judgment gives rise to a different field of value. So, Hartman says there are three fields of three kinds of logic of value. Three different kinds of logic of value. Hartman states, in the present, there are two logic of value, the deontic and agatical or axiological, of duty and good, respectively. And a third, a teleological logic of means and ends, part of which exists in operations research, is possible and necessary. The logic of value is threefold: the logic of formal axiology, the agatic or axiological, the logic of formal deontology, and the logic of formal teleology. As Dr. Lawrence stated, between 1967 and 1973, he wrote at least 4 articles in which he refers to formal axiology. The one is the structure of personality. You saw the structure of personality yesterday because Jen and Cliff rescued this important document. But this document is in the official page of Robert S. Hartman Institute. It is there right now. You may check it. This is the most important document is this. La producción del valor, but it's in Spanish. This document explains the threefold finalistic nexus that refers Dr. Lawrence. Un marco, a framework to scientific teleology. Comentarios a norma y acción. The science of decision making. This is a very important document too. What is formal teleology? Hartman defines formal teleology and as the science that applies the logic of value to the process of time. The evaluation process, says Hartman, is part of a dialectic process that conducts to a fullest realization. Start with a concrete situation, values it in terms of its potentialities, concentrate these potentialities into a goal, first stage, value the situation in terms of the fixed good, second stage, then updates the goal in terms of a concrete reality, third stage. We have a purpose, we have an idea, we have a dream. This is the first stage. So, I value the situation where I am, what are my possibilities, what are my resources, what do I have to do, etc. And I have to work for achieve my goal. Is the first stage, the second stage, and the third stage is an opportunity to value. to fix a value. In human teleology, the human being, you and you and you, your actions, your behavior is a process that will allow from a baby to a boy, to a young, to an adult. Life is not made. Life is a project of life. Formal teleology refers to temporary processes which are assumed in a rational, conscious manner and which are carried out because of an end or purpose that is intended to be achieved in the future. Hartman says, if we want something good to happen, we must trust in time. Time is on the side of good. Given the time, the good will prevail. Hartman says, be careful, wait. The good things will prevail. But you have to learn to wait. The good does not happen from one day to another. For example, this girl is going to be a mother and he has dreams and he is viewing to the future. Okay, the question, I have to confess you that I have a big problem. I am a philosopher. So I am not practical, but I am trying to be practical. Okay, can we measure the value temporal problems? We must remember the statement by Edward Thorndike, all that exists in some amount. And if it exists in some amount, can be measured. Is it possible to measure it? Yeah. Is it possible? Of course. The problem, by the history of science, is to identify two things. What are the variables? And what is the instrument to measure? But is it possible to measure? Of course. Yeah. We can measure. Why it is possible? Because we are valuing, we are assessing. Excuse me. Can we design a test to measure the teleological values? Certainly, we can do that. Do we need another test? Of course. And not only one, but a lot of. Do we need another instrument? Yes. And a lot of instruments. One instrument does not is in conflict with another instrument. Why? Because they are measuring different phenomena. So the question is, do we need another test? Yes, of course. And not only one, a lot of them. A group of professionals from different fields of knowledge, educators, psychologists, philosophers, have studied teleology for several years, almost 38 years. Remember that I learned axiology when I was 15.
Wow.
When I was 15, in 1973. So I have a little way. A group of professionals have established comparisons between formal axiology and formal teleology. As a result of this study, we decided to start the design of a test to measure the teleological process. This test is in the process of constructive elaboration. We have applied several versions of the test to high school students. In each version, we have made adjustments. During the process, we have learned a lot about what we should measure. What is the distinction between the tests we are developing and which we have called the teleological value profile? What is the difference? The Hartman value profiles measure the capacity of a person to make value judgment concerning the world and oneself. The teleological value profile, this is the name that we measures the capacity of a person to project and achieve values. Are they in conflict? Of course not. The teleological process can be represented in a summary form in 5 stages. First stage, the subject establishes the end that he wants to reach because he considers it valuable. This is the key, valuable. Do you remember the movie Billy Elliot? Have you ever watched it? You have to. You have to. Really. Billy Elliot is a boy in England that likes to dance. He wants to dance. They live in a town in England. Miners. Do you understand? Yeah. Miners. So all of the men are machos, and they don't see well that a boy wants to dance, but he wants to dance. So his father, that is a macho too, but is a father that loves his son. So all the prejudice, I don't know how to say it, all the prejudices, prejudice, it's apart, and he decided to support his son. Years ago, he becomes a dancer in London. Is an end that you have. Excuse me, my son, what do you want to do in your future? I want to do that. I want to be that and that and that. Remember, it's different what my son wants to be and what he wants to dedicate. It's different. One is intrinsic, the other is extrinsic. But, as you know, the extrinsic may become intrinsic. Okay. Second stage. He differentiates the established end from similar ones and gives it content and meaning. It goes from being a simple idea and becomes more and more and more concrete. What you want to be when you be an adult young lady? I asked to my granddaughter, I want to be this and this. So she is differentiating. The key word is differentiation, because in the Hartman value profile, we understand by differentiation the capacity to separate and to say this is good, this is bad, etc. It's a process of differentiation. So if we are going to construct, to build a teleological instrument, this variable has to coincide, with the Hartman value profile. It has to be the same because it's the same capacity. Coincide. The third stage, when you have fixed a goal, he fixed the proposed goal, setting the scenarios of his decision. I want to be this, this. Fourth stage, he looks backwards. Okay, I am in the future, imagining what I want to be. I am in the future, but I have to look forwards and say, oh, but I am 20 years before. I am in the present. But you have to look forward and say, oh, this is Leonardo 20 years after, but I have to be back, Leonardo 20 years back in the present. So the subject has to analyze the proposed goal, setting the scenarios, but he looks backwards at the present and establish the steps he must follow to achieve his goal. This is my dream, so what do I have to do to get this dream? I am 20 years before, so what is the way I have to follow to achieve this goal? Okay? I have to say, I have to do that, and that, and that, and that. The fifth stage, finally, he established a program by which working hard with discipline, remember what David Blanchard said, the habits. Discipline, he will achieve it. Nobody achieves anything that is valuable if he or she does not work hard. You may get something by good luck, but you are going to lose that. Yeah. You are going to lose that. For example, Mike Tyson lost in 3 years $500 million. $500 million. Disappear. When you get something that you have to work every day, you value not only the goal, but the process. Because you know that the process is important. What represents the process? The process represents every day in the morning, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do that. Okay? So, in this part, it is so important, the process as the goal. And the process and the goal became one. This one. What are the capacities, the skills, the abilities that I required to follow this process, this temporal process? It is important to say that it is a complex situation. It's very complex because it is composed by different stages, so it is not easy. And in each stage, we need different skills, abilities that are valuable. In the first stage, it is needed the capacity to value an object, a situations, the skill of a person or an organization, and to determine its potential. If you do not value yourself, you are not going to set values for the future. On the opposite way, if you value and you consider that you have a life, that you have purposes, that you have goals, you said, my life is important and I want to be this and this, I want to dedicate to philosophy, etc. Because you consider it's important, because you are important. So, to fix an end is important because you are important, because it's your life. Hartman says, as stated Kierkegaard, life, you live life every day, but life is in the project of life is in the future. People lives in the future. The future is the star that you see at night when you are in your sail, and you said, this is the star, I have to follow that. So, what are the abilities, skills, capacities? First of all, is the capacity to value an object and determine its potential. For example, let's suppose you are a coach. You belong to the nationals, and you have to coach a boy in order to say if he is going to be a good baseball player. You have to see if he has potential. My brother said, told me sometimes that he was in soccer football training camp, and he saw a boy. He looked at a boy that played in an extraordinary way, better than Messi. And my brother said, wow. The other people say, it's not going to function that. He has a lot of abilities, but he has not temperament, character. He has no strong personality. Do you understand? It's as important, the personality, the discipline, the work, as the ability to play football. And of course, he's nobody in football. The potential, the people who value the potential has to know what are all that he has to value. Ability to project a value over time. This requires knowledge, experience, vision, and imagination. Maybe you had find some young boys, young girls, that you ask, what do you want to be in the future? No, I haven't an idea. Okay? Experience, vision. Maybe they don't have visions. Maybe they don't have an imagination. In the second stage, we have to measure the ability to determine scenarios. This requires the ability to project temporal process throughout imagination and awareness. In the third stage, he needs imagination to analyze the proposed goal and consider the possibilities of his decision. In the fourth stage, it is required that the subject have the sense of process. The sense of process is very important. Hartman says there are a lot of people that do not have the sense of process.
Yes.
They do not understand that something has to pass for an stage and another stage, etc. As a result, the subject may determine the steps needed to realize what he wants to achieve. A subject can understand how temporal processes occur only if he has the ability to abstract his consciousness from the concrete and based on imagination, knowledge, and experience. He can be able to visualize the procedure that is required. In the fifth stage, the subject needs to demonstrate that he has the ability to put into practice that he has been visualized, which required energy and willingness to convert ideas into values. But the will alone, it is not enough. The subject's energy must be channeled throughout orderly that allows working with discipline. Nobody, no Phelps, no Nadia Comaneci, nobody gets something if he does not work every day with discipline, with energy, working every day. Cold, sick, tired. He has to be disciplined, and he has to work a lot in order to get a valuable thing. What are the principal variables? The principal variables are directions. This is the way I have to go. This is the way I have and I want to go. Imagination, process sense, and energy. Hartman uses energy, but he says that it is similar to will. They are the fundamental variables to understand formal teleology. This is a Twitter. This is a tweet. This tweet belongs to Mariana Pajon. She is from Colombia. She got the gold in Lima, the Pan American Games. I put this in English. I establish a vision, I work to achieve it, I want it with all my heart, and get it. You don't imagine what I am feeling. This is of course, the tweet is in Spanish, but I changed this in order to explain the idea. This girl don't know, but she is applying the procedural process. She is applying the teleological process. To have an idea, to have an ideal, to have a goal, to have a purpose, to work every day, every day, every day, and to get it. She doesn't know, but she is applying the teleological process. What are the good things that we may obtain to apply the teleological process? What are the benefits to use a new instrument to measure the capacity of people to fix an end and to work for it? What are the benefits? For example, we may determining the possible successes of a business. Let's suppose we apply the Hartman value profile and the teleological value profile. We compare it, and we may see if the other person has clear where does he wants to go. Knowing the convenience of a business partnership. Is it convenient for me to establish a partnership? Getting to know if a newly hired manager will have the future vision that may lead the company, to new horizons in times of ongoing change. The world is changing. Is the CEO that we are hiring the ideal persons to take this company and to project the company for the future? Does this boy or this girl we are hiring have the idea of teleological procedures? Okay? If he do not have this idea, we do not have to hire them, because they don't know, they are not going to see where to take my company project to the future. Measuring the potential achievement in a CEO or manager, as well as his or ability to manage such potential in the company. Not only if he has the potential, but to share this potential to the others throughout leadership. Being able to determine the necessary teaching process to the students to learn, or defining the steps to follow in a psychological therapy for a certain patients. To summarize, the practical advantage consists of determining in a certain situation or certain person, according to a logical sequence, if he has the necessary structure to guarantee his possibility of success, or, by the other hand, if the proposal is barely conscious and based only on imagination. Wife used to say to her husband, "You have a lot of ideas, but no one of your ideas become action." Because, as you know, men are more abstract, and he imagined more things than women, because women are more realistic. Women are more realistic. So man uses to have a lot of ideas that has no are not sustainable. Hartman describes, as remember that stated Cliff yesterday, there are two axiological models of personality. The teleological model, that is dynamics, and the axiological model that are statics. Hartman says they are not in conflict. They give us a picture of different moments. One is right now, and one is the person who wants to become another one. Besides, they are complement, because one may say this is in the present and this is one wants to become. Hartman concludes, both models are equally important and give different aspects of personality. From the theological approach, personality is dynamic, and as such is considered as a process that we develop it over time. In order to understand the value enclosed, a process that we conclude in the future, we must understand the sense it would make, the potential located in the value that will provide. And as you can see, we have to follow the future. Yeah.
So you mentioned the TVP. Is there a questionnaire that exists, like the
Yeah.
HPP?
Yeah.
Is it just in paper format? Is it?
No, it's in paper. It's in paper. You saw the boys and the girls of high school. They are solving the. We have determined that yes, the test has to be measured 5 different processes.
Yeah.
When you fix your idea, when you work for it, when you imagine what are the scenarios, the 5 stage has to be measured. Yeah, it exists.
Is that something that you've developed?
Yeah. And in maybe 2 years, you are going to receive a tablet, and you are do your test, and you are have your result. I'm going to come with my sons. They are going to give you a tablet. You are going to solve your test, and you are going to have your results.
We have a plan.
Yeah, it is a plan, of course, and I'm going to work for it. It's my purpose. It's my purpose. Let me tell you something. In 1983, I was in Cuernavaca with Rita Hartman, and Rita Hartman called me and told me, Leonardo is the name. Is the way she uses to name me. She didn't say me Leonardo, but Leonardo. Rita Hartman called me and gave me the structure of personality. And she asked me, study this because this is the future. And she was right. This is the future.
I think it's interesting what you were saying about the male-female, because now I think I understand what I found. And I'm going to talk about it after lunch. So you just enlightened me.
Thank you very
So
much.
can we ever take this thing, this
In 2
single
years.
test? Oh, so
Yeah.
Shorten the time period.
you need more tests, your testers, let us know,
Yeah.
be interested.
Yeah, we are probing. Remember, Susie, are you? Remember, Susie, that we have to work for coincidence. There is no possibility to the two tests may have an opposition or a contradiction, etc. They have to do additional information, no contradiction in information. Yeah. Finally, let me suggest you, please study the structure of personality, the paper that Jen rescued, and Cliff and Jen rescued. This is very important. This is the science of decision making. You have to study this, please.
These two.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was enlightening for me too. I read it, but now I understand. I put together things that were kind of scattered in my mind. And something that you said at some point, that the goal is important because I am important. I think this there is the difference. I mean, what with the Hartman value profile I find with some people is that they are aware of the importance of having goals, and they use this goal setting and mission in order to feel important. Exactly because they do not have a high self-worth, and so that's rather empty, and they go this way, but many times they use somebody else's goals because they are not connected with their inner potential.
Yeah.
And I think that with your test, you can very clearly measure exactly
Yeah.
this capacity to define their personal
Yeah.
goals which are meaningful for them, and not just goals that sound good or other people were appreciated for.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Thank you very much.
I'm curious about it.
Yeah,
Learn more.
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.